So, what I wanted to do today was to talk through uh, one of my Medium posts. I've gotten a lot of questions about a couple posts, but I thought it might be good to just go through a post on product management. The post was titled A 12-Step Program for Recovering Product Managers. And I thought I'd just go through those points and give a little bit more background uh, on the list and hopefully keep the conversation going. So, before we get started, I was asked what inspired me to write this post. And a couple weeks ago, I wrote a post called 12 Signs that You're Working in a Feature Factory. And to my surprise, that post really took off. I guess it struck a nerve with people and it resonated, and I got feedback from all around the world, actually, and that was pretty exciting. But it left me feeling a little bit like I don't like to just throw the problem out there. It would be interesting to explore some solutions to the feature factory. And so a couple weeks later, I decided to jump into some general guidelines or general principles that product managers could think about to avoid making their team feel like they were working in a feature factory and bringing the team down. Because obviously there's a lot of people out there who feel that way, just so you know. So it's something that as product managers we need to take very seriously. It affects the quality of our work environment. It impacts the quality of the products that we create. It impacts, I guess, the world through the products we create. So, in a couple posts after that, I tried to chip away at this, but I settled on this idea that I would, go through a 12-step program for recovering product managers. So let me just go through the points here quickly, and maybe I can keep this under 10 minutes, hopefully. So the first point is I will accept my own fallibility and the power that cognitive biases have over my decision making. As product managers, we are applauded for being decisive. We're applauded for being able to make quick decisions. And people want us to be able to see into the future. And honestly, we're not that great at it. We're okay at it, and especially if we get a lot more information about our product, if we get a lot more feedback about our product, we're able to make increasingly better decisions. But, unless you're in some domain where you've been stuck for decades, your intuition isn't always the best guide. And even if your team wants you to be able to see into the future and wants you to be able to project a level of confidence about what you're doing, the reality is our decisions are often wrong. I think I read somewhere that a product owner is lucky to make decent decisions 50% of the time. And we're also very vulnerable to cognitive biases. Everyone is vulnerable to cognitive biases. And so things like the confirmation bias, anchoring, sunk cost, especially as product owners, have a strong influence over our decision making. And this isn't to say that we should rip out all intuition or all quick decisions from what we're doing, but just it's important as product managers and product owners for us to acknowledge how often we are wrong and acknowledge how often our thinking is a bit skewed. And frankly, to be a bit more humble when we're talking to our teams. So the trap is the team wants certainty because people don't want to march off into the unknown without a quote-unquote plan. And we deliver that to them, but it comes back and bites us eventually as we grapple with the fact that our decisions weren't the best decisions. So I think it's very important that we are human. There's fallibility. We are like anyone else, and so we need to be humble. I think that's a good way to put it. So the second point here is I will work to earn the trust of the team and commit to creating a safe environment that is friendly to taking risks, practicing our craft, and being transparent and honest. You would be amazed how many engineers I talk to who say, almost verbatim, I don't trust the product owner. I don't trust them. They are decently smart individuals, or sometimes very smart individuals that you're working with. They're observing what's happening. They are looking at the results you're creating. They're looking at the data, hopefully. And it's a problem in our industry that engineers in UX often don't trust the intentions of the product owner. It's something we need to contend with. Because at the core, if you don't trust someone, you know, as an engineer, you might be able to kind of check out a little bit and just get your day-to-day craft, just kind of work through that stuff. But you're not going to get the best results if you don't have trust. Because if you don't have trust, you're not going to be willing to take risks. You're not going to be willing to speak up. You're not going to be willing to do a lot of things. There was a recent Google study that said that psychological safety is a key predictor of team success. So as product owners and product managers, maybe I'll just keep saying PMs or something for the rest of this, we need to work on building that trust. I've been in situations where when the product manager leaves the room, everyone rolls their eyes. There's that little trust. So the first step is acknowledging that this is a problem, that people might not trust you as much as you think that they trust you. They might not feel as safe as you think they feel. So by saying I'll work to earn the trust of my team and creating a safe environment that's friendly to taking risks, practicing our craft, and being transparent and honest, that's a little bit like product managers simply making a commitment, right? And being more self-aware, being more self-observant. I continuously read things from Scrum Masters or Agile coaches saying, I'm not sure whether we should have the product owner in the room during a retrospective. So backing up, that's a huge problem. That's crazy that a member of the team is being asked not to attend a retrospective. Now, that Scrum Master Agile coach might be perfectly justified to make that decision, but that's bad. So, you'll be observant about safety. You'll reach out to other people and get their opinion. Hey, am I making the team safe? Is this a safe environment? Can people be honest here? And you'll focus on trust. So the third point, I refuse to make promises and commitments that impact the team without first consulting with the team. Here's the situation. You're a product owner, there's these stakeholders, your VP of product is there, everyone's talking. Hey, product manager, when can we expect that? Or what do you have in mind? Or any number of questions. And you just, oh, wow. Okay, all right, I think we're gonna get it done by this time, or we're gonna do these things. So that's bad. And I see it all the time. And the important point there is you're making a commitment for another group of human beings that you work with that they may or may not be able to fulfill, or you're promising a solution that you may or may not be able to fulfill. And I see this in countless situations that product goes off into a side room and talks and talks and talks and kind of commits and plans and schemes. And they talk about trying to come up with the problem and leave the solution to the team, but they start to veer into the solution space. Suddenly, your executives start to get attached to pet solutions. and suddenly you're making commitments and promises around particular things. Not cool. It's just not cool, and it makes people feel like they're working in a feature factory, and it makes work unfun. The fourth one, I will respect the fact that makers need uninterrupted time to ponder, experiment, and build. I will make myself available at all times, but without interrupting and breaking the team's flow. I tell this story all the time, but I worked with an engineer that had a mirror on their chair, and sorry. They had a mirror up on their monitor, right? And the chair comes in later. So they would see me approaching, and they'd see me in the mirror, and they'd put on their headphones. Because we know, because we have to get focused work done sometimes, that you need uninterrupted time. You need to respect that time. It always feels like you might have that dying question that just needs to be answered right away, and you're going to go and tap someone on the shoulder. But engineering and UX doesn't work like that. In fact, if you look at someone and they don't appear to be typing, probably means they're thinking. And the best engineers I know spend most of the day thinking, and then in a couple seconds they're going to hit the keyboard and then make something happen. So you need to accept that probably how your engineers and UX work are not how you work, and that you need to preserve that environment where flow can happen. Now, it doesn't mean that when people take a step back to collaborate, you should try to quell that. It doesn't mean like the environment needs to be quiet all the time. You know, certainly you could go into another room and hit the whiteboard, but it just means that you need to respect maker time. It's super, super important. Number 5. I will focus on making all the people in our ecosystem, customers, users, immediate team members, extended team members, the business, investors, and partners, etc. awesome, not through coercion or manipulation, but by always experimenting with things that might allow people to do their best work. So I was inspired by this make people awesome thing. There was a book about, make users awesome. Joshua Kierieski had this idea of make people awesome as a modern agile principle. The important point here is the word make is sometimes misunderstood. You're not going to force someone to be awesome, but you can certainly create an environment, or you can work to create an environment, or you can work to allow experiments, or you can open up your mind to make sure that what you're doing is enabling people to be awesome in what they're doing. So if you have a team member and you're cramming stories through engineering constantly and they're overutilized and they're context switching, their work is not awesome. They're not doing their most awesome work. Let's say you have an exec that says, well, the customers aren't the people who use our product. Yeah, they might be right. Maybe your customers don't use your product, but that's not an excuse to inflict bad UX on your users, not making them awesome. There's a little bit of kind of jobs to be done in this idea too, that, are you allowing this person to do their job better? I mean, that's a mangling of jobs to be done. The jobs to be done is a whole other thing. But anyway, when you're in UX, you don't think about necessarily like saving the file doesn't necessarily make someone awesome. Your whole product allows someone to do something awesome, to create something, to write something, to communicate something. And I think also in this too is a respect for the business and the extended team members that you work with. Anytime for example, I've worked in a place that just pretty much relied on customer support to be able to mop up deficiencies with a feature. Is that making them awesome? No, it's not. They're not going to do their best work. They're going to be highly reactive in that situation. So I think the important point here is it's not through coercion or manipulation, so you're not manipulating people or trying to be a helicopter manager or doing any number of things. You just are aware of the impact of what you're doing, how you're behaving, what you're releasing, how you're interacting with people, and considering whether it is allowing them to do their best work, achieve their best outcomes, feel good about what they do. So that came up a lot in the Feature Factory thing, is just how shitty people feel about having to release crappy work. And that's not making people on your team awesome. Now, here's what happens. The product manager comes back and says, this is a business. We can't make people awesome all the time. We have these goals to hit, and we have all these things to do. Now, back up. Let's say you're right, and there's massive success coming to your company, and you can justify why introducing debt into your product and all kinds of bad stuff is worth some massively great outcome. Great. I'm sure people would be a lot more receptive to not being awesome in the short term if they knew there was some great outcome. The problem we have as product managers is we promise and promise that some great outcome is going to sit on the horizon, and observant people watch and watch and say, I don't really see that great outcome. I actually see all these costs building up in the system, and I think it's going to come back and bite us. So I'm not sure how we got into that from making people awesome, but anyway, I guess what I was trying to say is, as product managers, we asked people to accept non-awesomeness because we think we've got some awesome idea, and then it turns out we didn't have an awesome idea. So it goes back to some of those principles earlier. Number 6, I will detach from my pet solutions and the solutions offered by hippos and customers and focus instead on gathering data about the problem worth solving. The team, with me as a member, will decide which problems and solutions are worth pursuing. We've all been in that meeting where it starts with, wouldn't it be great if? And sometimes that's extremely compelling. I love coming up with ideas. I love being put in a room for 30 minutes and coming up with great ideas. It's one of my most favorite things to do. But we get attached to those solutions, and often our first solution is not the best solution. And frankly, the hippo or highest paid person's opinion is not the best solution. And our customers often don't have the best solution. So we stumble into the solution space as product managers all the time. And it doesn't really add the most value. It's not the most valuable thing we could be doing. The most valuable thing we could be doing is gathering data about the problem, gathering data about what is happening, or gathering data about opportunities that might exist. And that's what teams respond to. That's what they love. So you bring that back to the team, you lay out that information, or probably better, you work with the team to gather that information. You get them involved in problem discovery also, problem exploration, and then you decide what you're going to pursue. You're going to decide how to move that needle together. Again, that comes back to not making commitments for the team unless they're there making the commitments with you. But you need to get out of the solution space, and in fact, you kind of need to get out of the pet problem space too. Often product owners think, well, if I lay out the problem, I don't really need to necessarily add a lot of data there because it just needs to be a vision. Here's the vision, folks. Well, again, you need a lot of data to understand the problem and a lot of data to understand the solution. Anyway, so upshot there, don't worry as much about your solutions. Think about gathering data. Number 7, I will shorten the distance between the customer, user, and the team and resist the temptation to act as a go-between. Whenever possible, we will seek to let the customer represent themselves and will refer to actual usage data in addition to what people say. There's so much to say about this. let's start with Scrum. It's like, an approach in the realm of Agile here for a second. That person is supposed to act, the product owner is supposed to act as a customer proxy. And in many organizations, sales acts as a customer proxy, or marketing. And then product acts is 3 times removed. I literally was in a situation the other day where someone from a customer success team at a company said, "I'm amazed as a product person you actually talk to customers." And my mind was blown. I couldn't believe that. Of course, product owner talks to customers, but even better, you try to get the customer there to speak directly to your team. You establish a connection and then get out of the way. You facilitate that communication. And why do you do this? Well, going back to the feature factory, if you don't have a sense of impact, if you don't have a sense of a real person at the other end of what you're working on, it feels like a feature factory. And if as a product owner, you're just kind of guessing all the time, then as you're asking your team to go off and basically work on your guesses. So unless you prove that your guesses are always right, that's going to feel shitty. So the idea here is to always think about how you can get the customer or user closer to your team. Now, going back to this other thing about uninterrupted time, etc., there's a lot of teams that don't want to sit through that interview. There's a lot of teams that that kind of want a more prescriptive solution given to them. And what I would say there is it's a kind of sticky topic, right? You want to make that person awesome. They want that. They want you to go off and prescribe a solution. At the same time, from my vantage point, the best teams get more people involved directly with the customer. So you're making your customers more awesome by getting people closer together. And I don't think there's an easy answer to this, but I think the idea is you need to test it out. You need to explain to the team that it's not going to suck up all their time. And you also need to say to the team, look, I can't see into the future. As much as I'd want to see into the future, I can't see into the future. Therefore, the only way we can really solve that problem together is to be working more closely with the customer. So that's that point. Try to get things closer together. Number 8. Oh man, did I write something this long? Yeah. I will work with the team to deliver continuous value, not features or story points. When faced with big batches, we will work to decompose those batches and deliver value and learn incrementally. With flow, many rituals like estimation will fall by the wayside, and I will support the team's decision to stop rituals that add no value. In terms of process, I will advocate for as little process as necessary to preserve safety and challenge my own need for certainty and control. Well, I could have probably split that into a bunch of things, but let's move through this one pretty quickly. The first is to resist the temptation for big batches, which are sort of big clumps of work, lots of stories. In other words, the customer can't use what you released that sprint. You're still waiting for more stuff to come before someone can actually use what you're working on and it adds value. So you're trying to deliver things that people can use or that you can experiment with and that a customer can interact with as quickly and as continuously as possible. And that's the focus. Releasing 80 parts of a bigger feature that no one can use is not valuable at that moment. So the idea is that you'll learn incrementally. I mean, frankly, there's a lot of stuff out there on why this is a good idea. So I don't want to go too far into it. But the idea here is you'll resist the temptation to create a huge batch and ask the team to just deliver that big thing. You'll measure the team's progress in how much feedback you're getting about what you're working on, not how much you're putting out there. And that's massive. People talk about metrics, and people talk about what metrics can I have for my product team, but the question is not your velocity of stuff going out, but it's the velocity of learning coming back into the system and your ability to act on it. If you release a huge batch and everyone's sitting around and twiddling their thumbs and saying, I wonder if that worked, there's no done. You have your little done column, but that's not done. It's waiting to be validated. Anyway, so with flow, many rituals will fall by the wayside. This is what I see out there in the product development world, is that a lot of teams don't deliver value continuously. And because they aren't, what it does is it triggers a cascade of other rituals and things that people think are necessary to make themselves feel better about why they're not doing great. I know that's blunt, but let me put it this way. Let's take an example of sales. Sales continuously wants to know when X will be done or Y will be done or Z will be done. They are bugging you about it. You've invested in the system actually to track all the sales requests and link them to customers so sales will know when X and Y has been done. But just back up there for a second. What's happening? Let's say you were delivering value continuously and you're hitting the mark and you told sales, we're pretty sure that this kills it for this segment of people and you will be able to close deals and we're always getting better. In my experience, sales doesn't bug you because they're always excited about the cool stuff that you're coming up with. In fact, they sell that. They tell people, our team is coming up with new stuff all the time. I almost can't keep track of it, but it's kicking butt and it's working and we can do case studies. We can do all those things. So I'm just bringing that up as an example of something that we have a lot of rituals, and estimation is one of them, and big prioritization schemes and roadmap meetings and roadmap reviews and all that kind of stuff that you have to back up and say, where's the flow? Are we delivering value? Because in my experience, when you're delivering value, the rigor of all that stuff kind of dissipates. We create that rigor to feel better about what we do. So, as little processes as necessary to preserve safety and challenge my own need for certainty and control, that's what I'm talking about. When we're worried and scared about what we're doing, we crave certainty and control, and then we create extra process to get that certainty and control instead of focusing on why we're scared and why we think we're not producing value. That's number 8. Number 9. I will collaborate with the team members to measure, iterate, and celebrate based on the actual impact of our work. We will fail often, but we'll leave sufficient time to learn from those failed experiments and deliver the best outcome possible. Kind of what we're talking about here, right? You've got to leave time and you've got to leave slack for reflecting on whether this is working. There's so many good tools out there. There's so much good stuff out there. You don't have an excuse not to instrument your features. You don't have an excuse to not know who your customers are. You don't have an excuse. You spend so much money to get output. You know, whatever, I'm thinking of 2-week sprint, $50,000 a sprint. That's crazy pants. You know, a good tool might run you 50 or 100K a year, and that can easily save 2 sprints worth of work. Easily. In you going down the wrong direction. So you just got to instrument. And what you'll find too is that, I mean, when I ask teams, do you experiment? They say yes. And then I say, how many times do your experiments fail? No, none. So they're not experimenting. That's not experimenting. It's not experimenting if occasionally you don't fail and you have to redirect and you have to pull features out of the product. So that's what we're getting at there. Number 10, I will stop trying to keep the team busy at all costs and will encourage the team to leave sufficient slack for personal projects, etc. We will keep utilization rates at reasonable levels and strive to deliver outcomes while at the same time maximizing the value of the work not done. So I literally know product managers who believe that it is their job that no one is slack. Everyone is busy. There is something ready. They're scanning. Oh my goodness, what if are you going to be done with that in the next hour? Because then I can get this thing to you or that thing to you or do these things. So that's not your job. That's not your job at all. 1 hour of someone not working on stories is not going to kill you. You have very little awareness of how engineers work if you think that that is the type of thing they want to be doing. Now, yeah, no one likes to be have nothing to do. They start to get a little worried when that happens. So granted, this works in both directions, but we opt in many cases to overutilize our engineers. We stuff them with all kinds of stuff to do, and the upshot is that when something goes wrong, the whole thing explodes. So slack is important. Personal projects are important. Professional development, having a life, all those things are important. And that slack helps because you're able to absorb, some of the kind of interruptions in your work, I guess. So you'll try to keep those utilization rates at a reasonable level. And the final thing, maximizing the amount of work not done. You can go back to the Agile Manifesto or Agile Principles for that. But when trying to cost out features, it's crazy that we don't think about the nonlinear complexity we're adding to the product. The cost is very rarely about the developer time spent cranking out that feature 1 week or 4 weeks, $20,000 or $60,000. We think, oh goodness, that's a huge difference. Well, no, the big cost for releasing that complexity into the product is all the subsequent slowdowns and all the subsequent impacts of a complex system that you're creating. So we build and build and build and add and add and add. And no wonder engineers feel like the feature factory sucks, because they have to deal with the negatives of the feature factory in all their subsequent work. So we need to think about how to achieve. Honestly, a lot of teams would be better off to just not build let's say the best you can come up with is some mediocre feature to add. So you think, well, we might as well because people have some slack right now, or they're doing those things. No, you might as well not build anything. That would actually be better. If you can't create value far in excess of that small little cost of adding those particular features, it's never going to work out. Or, most of the time it doesn't work out. So 11. I will respect the strong desire to not cut corners and do whatever possible to promote the sound economics of doing the job right, and are committing as a team to address those cut corners at some point in the foreseeable future. This really struck a chord with based on the feedback I got for the Feature Factory post, is that, let's just boil it down. Product owner is saying ship it. That's fine. This is an MVP, etc., all that stuff. And you're a UX person or engineer working on that, and what are you hearing? You're hearing, it's all right. We had to cut corners. It's okay. Just get it out there. I've got this new thing to get going. We've got to get this new thing on there. We're asking our teams to cut corners all the time. And we're not explaining to them why that was valuable. How did we get more by doing something shitty? Was it so that you could try to build the next 5 features, one of which seems like it's actually resonating with people? So we're asking people to cut corners and we're not visualizing the cost. We're not visualizing all the corners we're cutting. And then what that means is, a year or two later, you have 3 times as many engineers and you're moving, 40% faster or something. So that's bad. So I think that this is part of the craft aspect to it. If you're going to ask people to cut corners and do mediocre work or maybe not do their best work, you've got to understand that there's economics involved with that. And to do that, you need to be able to visualize costs that we don't normally visualize. And one of those costs is the impact on the psychology and motivation of the people you work with. And we often don't consider that. There's a lot of organizations that plan for people to churn out every year or two. That's the cost they're paying for asking people to do less than their best work. So it's important. I will respect the strong desire to not cut corners and do whatever possible to promote the economics of doing the job right. I think that there are sound economics around doing the job right. In a lot of cases, and most cases. And when you are cutting corners to try to prove something out or experiment with something, visualize that debt you're creating. Put that up there on the wall so everyone says, wow, that's a big impact. And finally, number 12, I will reflect on the points above, seek feedback and coaching, accept and address my weaknesses, and continue to do what works until it stops working, take care of myself, medicate, I don't know, and not become a stressed out, terrible person to be around. A lot of product folks are beaten down in a bad place and they're not firing on all cylinders. So you've got to take care of yourself and you've got to see your own work as a set of experiments and try to get feedback and try to get coaching and address your weaknesses. So this is the reflection side of it. So anyway, that, a lot of this was self-evident from what I wrote. I wanted to give a little bit more feedback about these 12 points. Let's say these aren't your 12 points. Let's say you believe in something else. I would encourage people to reflect on and write down what you believe in. Do you believe that your job is to feed the feature factory and that's why you think it's an economically sound idea? Explain that. Write it down. My guess is you're not going to write down things like it's good not to respect people or whatever, but you might write down something like, healthy tension is the name of the game. I don't know, I'm guessing. But I think the point I'm trying to make is that believe in something. Believe in something about the craft of product management, because plenty of people don't believe in anything about it. They're just lost in a swirl of kind of bias and being very reactive. They can't even describe what they're doing or how they're working. And so anyway, close with that. Love your feedback. I don't know. Is this kind of stuff good on video? It might suck. Give me some feedback and maybe I'll do some more of these. Thanks.